Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm founder of the Life Clinic and I've been specialising in treating people with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, adrenal fatigue and other similar conditions for about 8 years now. And that's since fully recovering by myself for chronic fatigue syndrome. So I had that for 3 years and I'll explain a little bit about that shortly after some of the rest of this information. So first of all, I'd like to just share with you exactly who this recovery programme is for, because I want to make sure that you can be sure that it's a fit for you or not, if that's the case. So first of all, you need to know that it's ideally made for people who have chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, adrenal fatigue, ME, or maybe even people that are experiencing a lot of overwhelm or burnout in their lives. It's perfect for them too. You really need to be willing to try a new alternative approach. And that can be, even if you don't quite understand what the approach is, how it works, or if you've never tried anything alternative before, that's okay too, because don't worry, we cover all of that in the programme and I'll guide you through it step by step. You also need to be open to the concept that your condition might really be about unresolved stress, trauma and negative emotions. And I'm going to explain a bit about that later so that you can understand why I feel that that's the key to recovery and what you can do to get there. So first of all, as I promised, I'm going to share a little bit about my personal journey through chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm going to keep it brief because you can always have a look at some of my other videos if you want to know the story at length, but I want to keep it short because there's a lot of information for me to share with you in this video. So I had chronic fatigue syndrome for 3 years. It was a very dark time in my life. I know I don't need to tell you that because you're going through the same thing. And it was actually kicked off by a car accident. Crashed my car, and really that was the last straw on the camel's back, because when I look back I can see that it was building for a long time. There was a lot of stress and pressure and things going on for me, and maybe you can recognise that in your own life too. So I ended up completely debilitated, had to use a wheelchair mostly for those 3 years, collapsed sometimes 5 and 6 times a day, had terrible dizziness, unbelievable exhaustion, digestive problems. There were it was as if my body had just shut down on me, and your life shuts down too. It was a really horrible, horrible time and a really tough time for me and the people around me at the same time too. So like you, I tried all sorts of different treatments and approaches, but the difficulty with me was that I know a lot of people try different treatments and solutions, and some of them do actually work for them for a short period of time, and then maybe they stop working, which is quite common. But for me, it was like just a dud. Absolutely nothing worked, which was really frightening and really frustrating at the same time. And by this point, I had exhausted all routes with the medical profession, and nobody could really understand what I was going through or how to help me. So it was a really, really difficult time. And then I came across this book on a energy healing technique called EFT tapping. And I actually bought it just really for some light reading, because by that point I really wasn't expecting to get well at all. I bought the book and I brought it home and I tried it for the anxiety that I had, because that's quite a common aspect of conditions, having worry and anxiety all the time, maybe even palpitations. That's a really common symptom and it's really horrible. So I tried it on that, and within a few minutes the anxiety had actually lifted. And naturally I thought maybe I'd gone a wee bit crazy that I was just imagining things. I wanted a cure for something so bad, but it was right. And I started to use it every day to help me manage the anxiety, and it was really like a kind of surprising accident, a fortunate accident, that I ended up recovering my health and my symptoms immediately began to get better. So it took a bit of work to do a little bit every day, but within 4 months I had returned to complete health and I actually was well enough to go back to work. It was like an absolute whirlwind for me. It was really, it felt like a miracle. It was just, I had tried so hard to find the answers and nothing had worked, that you do become afraid that, you're going to believe in something else that's going to let you down. But it was the right answer for me. And yeah, I got better in 4 months, and as you can imagine, it made me extremely passionate to share this with other people. And also to find out what was really behind it and work out, well, why did it work, and what were the aspects of that that really made it a solution for me, so that I could share that with other people. So that's kind of my story, and I want to share with you a little bit about the approach that I use in the recovery program and obviously in my sessions, so that you can really understand my point of view and my take on healing from chronic fatigue and these similar conditions. So in order for you to really recover from any of those conditions, there's one key thing that you have to do, and this is what I've found with working with people over 8 years. You have to calm down the stress response, okay? If you don't calm your stress response, if you don't change your stress response, your symptoms will not change. They just won't change, okay? And the reason that they won't change is because your body is going into this reaction. It thinks it's doing you a favour. Your body really consciously thinks that it's helping you in some way by going into this fight or flight response. So you've gone into a state of long-term fight or flight. Now, fight or flight, if I can explain a little bit about that, this is the old reaction that we used to go into when, maybe a lion jumped out in front of us, caveman days, we're running around. If some form of potential threat or danger came across us, we would naturally go into fight or flight response. And it makes lots of chemical changes to the body. It makes lots of changes throughout the entire body to all the systems and where all the energy goes, so that you have the energy available to either fight the threat that's coming at you, like the lion. I hope you won't, but you've got that option. Or take flight. That's why it's called fight or flight. Take flight means to run away. So this creates all sorts of different systems happening in your body. But there's a problem. That natural response still exists today, but it's only supposed to be a short-term deal. It's only supposed to happen for a few minutes until you can get away from danger. And once you're away from the danger, your system's supposed to revert back to normal, and it's really done its job. Okay? The problem is that you have gone into fight or flight because certain things have been stressing you over a long period of time. And when we say stress, these can be physical, mental and emotional things. They don't necessarily have to be a physical thing like a lion jumping out at you anymore. It could be, sort of strain on your relationship. It could be an eating disorder. It could be, problems at work. It could be overworking. It could be a lot of different things. But your brain is perceiving that as a dangerous, life-threatening threat, okay? And what happens is this fight or flight response goes on, and all these things that kicked it off in the first place don't go away. So if that problem had been a lion, the lion would leave, or you would have run away, or maybe you would have defeated it, I don't know. And the lion would be gone, so your system would go back to normal. But when it's long-term stress, these triggers and these things that are causing the stress response to burn out and be in constant fight or flight, they're not getting resolved. So if you can imagine that like a big ball of all these issues that are keeping you in that fight or flight response, your body thinks you're in danger. So imagine this is kind of sitting up here. Your brain knows these things are going on. Your brain's responding with fight or flight. The issues aren't going away, so it's continuing to produce that response to keep you safe. And it just gets to the point where all of a sudden your reserves are empty. So all that adrenaline is pumped out. There's, you've not been able to use it. There's nothing left. The system just shuts down. But the problem is that once your system is shut down, it's exhausted, it's still producing that response because that stuff's still triggering the stress response of your brain. It's starting to make a little bit of sense. So what you need to do is address the cause. Okay, so how do we address the cause? Let me explain that to you. In order for you to address the cause of this stuff that's triggering the stress response, it's giving you all these symptoms out here, what you really need to do is look into some self-discovery questions. These are part of the program that are going to help you identify exactly what those causes are, okay? Because everybody's different. This isn't a generic script that I can give to people. Everyone has their own things that are causing these problems. And you need to find out what those are because you might not even be consciously aware of them. So we need to do a bit of digging, and that's where the questions come in. Once we know what those things are, we need to resolve them so that this gets less and less and less, and the stress response goes, aha, everything's okay, we can calm back down, we don't need to produce these symptoms that are coming from the body. We also need to reduce the stress response by training it to be calm daily. And we do that with this modality of EFT. That's how we're addressing these emotional issues too. EFT is tapping on acupressure points with your fingertips. Looks a bit weird, I'm used to it now. But tapping on these acupressure points with your fingertips directly affects the amygdala. And the amygdala is the thing that's going to calm your stress response down, just like a dimmer switch. So they've been able to prove that the tapping actually does that for you. So it's the mix of these two things that's going to bring these things down. We're going to resolve all these issues so that it's not triggering the stress response anymore. You're going to calm the stress response daily with the tapping, and eventually there's no symptoms going on because your system knows that it's calm, it's safe, everything's resolved, there's no need for it to feel in danger anymore. And that's when you can really make changes in your body. Absolutely, it's so important. Okay, so I hope that that's given you a good idea of the kind of approach that I'm taking. So it's all about resolving the stuff that's causing the stress response to fire in the first place. Because you can work on symptoms all day long. You can work on the sleep pattern, you can work on the exhaustion, you can work on the digestion, you can work on this panicky, fluttery feeling. But unless you address the thing that's causing it to affect the stress response, you won't really make any difference to the symptoms. Okay, so I hope that you've managed to really get a grasp of that, and if not, don't worry too much because it's really explained in detail in the course itself. But I know that when you embark on something like this, I know how I felt trying something new, and I know from working with my clients that it can be that you're going to have some concerns. It's natural and normal that you're going to have some concerns about trying something new. So I want to try and make it a bit more comfortable and safe and secure for you to at least be able to try that. Okay, so the first thing is I offer a money back guarantee. If you try this course and it's not fit for you, there is no questions, there's no issue at all, you'll get your money straight back. I really don't have an issue with that. I want to work with people who are a fit, and I want to work with people that I can really help. So if for any reason the course just isn't for you, you'll get your money straight back, no problem. But I know that it's not just about money. You also need support, and you need guidance for this journey that you're going to be on, and this journey to recovery. So for that reason, when you take on the course and you decide to go for it, there'll also be a Facebook group that you can join, and it's full of just the loveliest people. I just know that you'll love all the people that are in it. It's a really positive environment where everyone's kind of progressing together and helping to support each other. And it means that you've got people who are going through the same thing. They've really got an understanding of what's happening for you, and I think that's invaluable. And of course, I'm there too, so it's really nice to be able to connect with the people that are doing the programme. And it means that you can ask me questions. You've got my support there, and certainly you've got the support of the rest of the group to make sure that you've got a bit of a hand-holding from the beginning to the end of the programme. And I know that that will be helpful for you. Okay. So in the programme, you're going to be taken step by step from where you are now, wherever that might be, no matter how bad you are, how difficult your symptoms are, that's okay. And we're going to take you step by step right through to the process of recovery, just as if I was working with you one-on-one in private sessions, okay? The entire programme doesn't even cost as much as a single session. And I do that to make sure that everyone can get treatment. There were a lot of things that I tried when I was unwell that I just couldn't afford. You know, some things were just out of my price range, and I felt really quite passionate that I never ever wanted to do that to someone. So I made the programme, and admittedly it makes life a little bit easier for me because it can be quite stressful working under waiting lists quite often for the sessions, and some people are happy to do it on their own and just maybe get a top up or get some guidance from the group, and that's absolutely fine. So it's win-win. It's win-win. So basically within the course you're going to learn a new energy healing technique, okay? And you're going to learn it to professional level standards. I'm going to really teach you the advanced techniques so that you really get great results, not just working on your own symptoms and not just working towards a recovery, but also for every other aspect of your life. It's a universal healing aid that you can use for other aches, pains, emotional issues, traumas, manifesting. You know, it's really a positive thing for the rest of your life. It's not just for ill health. It can be used for lots of different things, and you might even want to practice it on your friends and family too, and maybe help them with some of their health concerns or some of the issues that they're facing in their own lives, which can be really rewarding to be able to do that. So let's see what else I include. I want to make sure I'm not getting mixed up. You're going to learn the healing modality. You're also going to, also include a chapter about how to protect yourself against relapse, because that's really, really important as you're on this journey, that you know what to do if ever something like that comes up, and you know how to protect against it. So I feel that's really important. There's also some bonus chapters about how to put your life back together. And I think that's the thing that's missing from most programs. You need to know how to put your whole life back together and get things back on track. And it's not just about going back to the life that you were once in. It's about creating a life that's even better in the long run, and really listening to your heart and finding out what it is that you want to do, what goals you have, what achievements you want to make, what things you want to have and do and be in your life, so that you get something exciting to look forward to and go back to. You've got to make a life worth living. You've got to make a life that is worth getting better for. And I feel that that's the fun part of the programme at the end there, and I hope that that gives you a lift and some positivity and some hope too, that things really can change. Okay, let's see if there's anything else. I think that's it. So to recap, you've got the comfort and safety of a money back guarantee. There's no questions, no quibbles. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. If it's not for you, it's absolutely okay. You'll get your money refunded straight away. It's no problem. You'll also have the support of the group. So you'll be able to speak to me and message on the group posts, or look through some of the older material. I'm always updating it with new things as well, so that should be really supportive and helpful to you as well. And all of this is for the cost of less than one single session with me. So I really hope that that helps, because I know that most of you probably aren't able to work. So that's why I've made it the price that it is, and I hope that that's helpful to you. So if this all sounds like a fit and you feel like we're resonating and it sounds good for you, then you can buy at the bottom of the page. Or if you're on YouTube, you'll have to have a look in the little box to get my website address. And if you get the course, then come on over to the group and say hi, because I would really love to connect with you. I really like to connect with the people that I'm helping, and like to get to know you and see what other help I can give you. So thanks so much for listening to the video, and I hope to be helping you soon.